What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you learn how to reach people online, build influence, attract ideal clients, and that's exactly what we're talking about today, and how to do it on Instagram without selling. For the love of God, stop posting about your latest listing. Please stop that, and we're going to talk about what to do instead. Michelle Berman is here with us. We'll bring her in a second. The Evil Bald Ninja is here. We'll bring him in a second. But first, without much further ado, or without only slightly further ado, I'm going to go on. I'm going to wax poetic for another few paragraphs. The junior grandmaster, firmly ensconced in the co-pilot seat where you so belong, very, very far away from me. Greg McDaniel, what's up today?
Man, you miss out on so many good things in life because you're so far away from me. My soul hurts for you because you should be closer to me because your life would be more full and there'd be more joy in your heart.
You're up there in the land of the double masking. I think I'm doing all right down here in San Diego. I feel very comfortable with my life choices right now.
Why do you have to go there, bro? What the fuck? Seriously. Why do you got to condescend me? This is bullshit. All right, we're going to move on to Gene, who's nicer. Gene, how are you, buddy?
I'll show you how nice I am. Wait till you see this. Both of you creeps are in California, so I got that on you.
Well, okay, you do have that on us. Okay. Anywho, let's move on to something that's more positive. Our guest today, guys, she is an absolute legend. She's a killer. She's unbelievable. I found her out and about in the wild west of the internet. And Michelle Berman, welcome to the show. She's going to drop hammer, guys. Better get a pen and a piece of paper out. Yes, Matt. They still make these. It's called a pen, and this is a piece of paper. They're prehistoric, but they're very effective when taking notes.
Hey, I'm the one that's 70-year-old trapped in my body. So believe me, of all people who know how to use pen and paper, it's me. It's the resident old guy on the show.
Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a fun one, I have a feeling.
You have no idea, girl. It's going to be an absolute blast. Let's talk about a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do, favorite color, and something new in your life.
Well, my favorite color is turquoise and olive green. Have a really fun story of how my husband and I met, and I always like telling it. But all I'm going to say is my husband and I had never spoken, never said hello. And from the day we said hello to the day we got married was less than 2 months. So I'm going to say that.
Ooh, what?
Yep. We've been married for going on 2.5 years now. Having a baby in August. We're super excited. Having a little boy. His name is going to be Knox, named after Fort Knox. So we're excited for that. Nice. And as far as me, I grew up in Southern California. So I actually grew up in La Mirada, right by Disneyland. Born and raised, went to school at Rutgers in New Jersey. Was a competitive athlete from the day I could walk, more or less. Started out as a swimmer. So I swam for 18 years, swam all through college. Graduated from college, wasn't quite good enough to go pro and actually make money swimming the circuit. So I ended up getting a real job, as my dad would say. And then found CrossFit a couple months later, was a competitive CrossFitter for just over 6 years before herniating L4, L5, and L5S1, and then deciding I was going to take a break from CrossFit when they took regionals away, when that whole shebang happened. 2 months later, I joined an Olympic weightlifting gym, met my husband about a month later, got married less than 2 months later, and he was at that gym.
Good. Wow. So you take things slow, I see.
Well, yeah,
more of a cautious wait and see approach. I can appreciate that. Yeah. You're speaking to two very, very committophobes on the show here. So the idea of getting married, going from not having known that person to getting married in 2 months, that sounds like the most terrifying thing I can possibly imagine. So congratulations, though. Good on you.
Yeah,
he's the lucky one, right? Isn't that he's in the other?
Yeah,
you heard me say that. But
yeah, of course he is.
Really, I'm the lucky one because he puts up with my shit, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, no, it was. I think part of it is you go through life and you make a whole bunch of really bad decisions, and then when you find something that is the best decision you could ever make, but also the scariest, usually it's a good one. At least how I look at that, whether that's in business or marriage. But I texted my best friend when I met him, we again had never even said hello. And I said to her, I'm going to marry him. And she's like, what? You've never even said hello to him. And I was like, I just knew it. Like I just 100% in my heart knew I was going to marry him. And we did.
Yep. My sister met her husband at 9 years old and said the exact same thing. She turned to her friend and goes, I'm going to marry that man. and it happened to be a good friend of my brother's, and now they're married with 4 kids. So bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, bada bing. Now let's talk about getting married when it comes to IG, Instagram, coaching. Let's get married to our customers. Let's get married to our posts. Let's get married to our stories. Let's get down and dirty. Talk to us a little bit about that. Walk us through that journey. How can people start? What are people doing wrong? I mean, how are we foobarring this thing?
People are doing so many things wrong. It's sad, in my opinion. I feel like because we're uncensored here, I'm going to be real honest.
Please.
I also have honesty tattooed on my body, so I don't know how to be any other way. But I like that I get to be a little more off the cuff with you guys than I would normally be. But so many people are doing it so wrong, and they're doing it with good intention. They're doing it in the mindset of, I want to use Instagram to generate business. I want to grow my following. I want to get more people that are consuming my content so that more people buy and sell real estate with me. But the problem is that they're coming at it with the mindset of what's in it for me versus, what's in it for my client, or why would my client want to work with me, and giving that client the platform to create attraction to them before anything else happens. North Texas, boom. Hi, Robert. So my in-laws live in Denton. Shout out to Texas. I love Texas. But yeah, so I think that's the number one thing. Number two thing that Matt was saying, Kyle Draper, the number two thing for me is that everything is always about selling something all the time, right? Matt kind of laughingly said in the beginning, for the love of God, stop posting your listing picture. But please, seriously, stop. And the other thing is, stop posting your screenshots of your title company documents that you get, right, with the 10 steps to the home buying process. And stop posting the how to service your HVAC system, and the text is this small on an Instagram post. Learn how to make your Instagram posts fit to screen, because I can't tell you how many Instagrams I've gone to and you can't read anything because it's so not shaped or sized for Instagram at all. And then the third big thing for me that's beyond annoying, in my opinion, is when you're trying to post or take pictures of your offers, right? And you take a picture of your contract and you post that, that is not content. So I think that couples in conjunction with the title key, pictures. Oh, congrats to John and Mary for buying their house. And they're holding their title key at, whatever X and Y, Z title company. And who are those people, right? What kind of story do they have? What kind of journey did they go through to get there? Take a video of them with their title key and let them give you a testimonial and use that instead. Because people don't give a crap about that. Because at the end of the day, what does it do? It just makes the real estate agent look like all they care about is making money and making commission right off of those people.
Well, it's also incredibly boring content. I mean, I know, and I have a lot of friends that do it, and I try to talk to them offline. I'm like, guys, please stop doing this. This is really fucking boring. Everyone knows what you do. Why don't you show me doing something that you love? But yet they don't do it for some damn reason. Why? Michelle, walk me through the mental mindset or the mental deficiency that Matt has. I mean, the real estate agents have when it comes to posting on Instagram.
Matt, if I ever get to meet you in real life, I'll take you out for a coffee and make you feel good about yourself, because
thank you. I do need it. Greg beats me up. He really lowers my self-confidence.
Oh my gosh. The missing link, and I'm so glad that Kyle's listening, because Kyle will agree with me. But one of the things for me that I noticed, as far as, especially, I would say more so on the female side than the male side, is we just lack so much self-confidence in the fact that who we are as individuals is cool enough for someone else. Meaning, if we're just us and I'm just me, then somebody is going to be attracted to me because of that. And also, I think we're so afraid of oh, my hair doesn't look good today, or I don't like the sound of my own voice, or, I have never done a video, or if I have done video, I did 5 in a whole year and none of the 5 did anything. So I just stopped doing it. Right. And then I'm like, oh, but you're successful because you're doing video. As Kyle would say, you're a unicorn. No. And I'm saying that because we literally just had this conversation yesterday. So it's kind of ironic. But the mental piece of it is, for me, when I look at it, when I'm talking to people, the only problem with 99% of them is themselves, right? Because they genuinely believe that whoever is successful because they're a unicorn in the industry. Or on the flip side of that, right? Oh, well, I've been door knocking my entire career. So because I door knock and I'm really successful, then I'm just going to keep door knocking. Why do I need social media? Right? I met a gentleman on Wednesday who won for like #1 guy in the brokerage for the entire year of 2020. The guy has 4 pictures on Instagram. So in his mind, he's like, why do I need social media? Because I'm crushing it. But what he doesn't think about is what happens when his potential audience can't find him on Instagram or can't find him on social or can't find, nobody Googles anything as far as a website is concerned anymore. At least my generation doesn't. And I'll be 31 in June for reference for anyone. So unfortunately I fall into the millennial category. But I don't really believe that I'm a true millennial and what the millennials mean. But you guys get my point, right? Is we don't go to Google to look at a real estate agent's website. We don't do that. If you're trying to earn my business, if I go on Instagram or I go on Facebook and I can't find you, you're out. And that goes for any industry, not just real estate, right? Like you're trying to find a wedding venue. I just did this, right? Trying to find a wedding venue. You go on Instagram and if they don't respond to a DM or they don't have any content on there, I'm not using them.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Gene, you do a lot of stuff when it comes to shredding information out into social media. I mean, what are you seeing in the same thing? Because obviously Michelle makes a phenomenal point. Are you seeing the same thing on your side?
Yeah, I've done this so many times standing up and like giving presentations, and we've talked about this on the show multiple times. Very quickly overnight, about 4 or 5 years ago, we crossed over a threshold, and the threshold was, it started out when you would go up to somebody and say, I can't find you on Facebook. And they would go, yeah, I don't have an account. Everybody I want to see from high school, I hang out with still, right? And you would go, good for you, man. It's a time suck, right? Fast forward over 4 years ago. Now it's like this. You don't have a Facebook account. What are you hiding? Right? So that's really what happens. So if you can't, honestly, think about it right now. If you can't find somebody digitally online.
I don't know, man. I still get look, my mentor, Frank, has no cell phone.
Wow.
You have no idea how many real estate agents are insanely jealous that he does not carry his iPhone. The only way to get a hold of him is to text his wife. He's only available in the mornings when he's sitting at his computer working because he works half days. Yeah, it's interesting because, Gene, I've seen a little bit more of the backlash where people are starting to go, oh, you don't have a Facebook account. Oh, man, I wish I could do that. But I could never. Like, I need it for business. I need it for personal life. I could never. But it's, I think there's a little bit of an admiration for that in some circles. I don't know that it works for you as an agent actively, but anyway.
And I think you're right I think you're right, because if I sit back and really, and you're like this too, Matt, when you look at your day, right? And we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but when you look at your day in a whole, like I'm wasting 2.5 hours every single day on some social media platform, falling down the rabbit hole. So when people say to me, I don't need it, I don't use it, and I go, you're comfortable with that? You're comfortable with the amount of money you make? You're comfortable with the fact that nobody can find you online? I admire the hell out of that. Like, I wish I could have 44 hours back a week where I'm just like, oh, look, I graduated with that girl. Look at this. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, and it goes from that to, and in the beginning, like, I'll give you an example. Before we started the show, I went and Googled Michelle. And we both have that CrossFit tie. So I saw a couple of videos. If we didn't have to jump on the show, I would have spent 44 minutes digging in. Where does she go to the gym? Let me see what those guys look like. Do they have an account? And then I'd look up and be like, oh shit, I have a meeting in 4 minutes. I'm late. I'm late for it. Like, I don't want that in my life. I'm just programmed for it. And I think you're right. There's definitely some admiration for people like that. But I will say this. I think in this day and age, most people, if you polled 100 people, 94 of them would go, what's wrong with that dude? Right? Seriously.
I don't know about that, but I do think there is. I do think you have to find your tribe. So Michelle, you're the type of person that if they don't have an Instagram account, you're not interested. There's all kinds of people out there like that. And there's all kinds of people out there that are different. But I do think you have to understand who is that market that you want to work with. If the 30-year-old, they bought their first house, they own it, right? And now they're looking to like move up. Their family's growing. You know, they need more room. Basically, Instagram is the place where they hang out. It's where they connect with family and friends and all that stuff. If that's your target market, and you are, especially if you're in that target market, like you are that person, and that's who you're serving, then yeah, you need to be in the places where they expect you to be. That's the reality.
Well, and to be honest with you, Matt, hopefully I can say this because I'm saying it lovingly, right? We're going to say that.
This is going to be
awesome. I disagree, right? I think living where you're
everybody disagrees with me. This is not a new thing. I'm outnumbered on this show every week.
Living where your clients live is really important, right? Like who your ideal people might be is a great place to be, right? If your target market is millennials and you're not on Instagram, then yeah, you're screwed in many cases, or you don't have as we were talking about, if you don't have the digital footprint and I can't find you, like I'm out. But what's to say, like, I don't remember who said it on the screen at the bottom. Somebody had posted or commented on our thread here saying, and he was an older gentleman, right? Who said, I have, I don't mind having, there we go. Howard saying, I don't mind having Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, etc. Right? Do you think Howard's ideal market is millennials? Probably not. Right. But why not? Right? Like, why not be on that platform? Because his ideal audience may be the 55 and older. I'm just making that up. So sorry, Howard, if I'm wrong, but like his ideal client may be 55 and older. But if you look at Instagram's insights, you look at my insights from last year, from 2019 to 2020, the percentage of 55 and olders that were consuming and using Instagram for my personal insights had gone from 2% to 16%. You're telling me there's not a market share that is there for you? And you're telling me that you can't be ahead of that and you can't be the first person to attack that. You're wrong. Like, I just think you're wrong. And in today's day and age, one of the things that is for me, that it's the most important, you could be the most qualified. You could be the best, most experienced real estate agent on the planet. But if you're not on those platforms, the perfect person for you will not use you. Why? Not because you're not the best person for them, not because they don't know that you're the best person for them, but because they have a relationship with somebody else who's a newer person, probably in the industry, or someone who's just not as experienced, who's always top of mind, who's always posting stories, who's always posting on Facebook. I don't love Facebook, but I get it. We need it. But my point being, if we're not ahead of that, we're just doing ourselves a disservice, because we're losing the potential of keeping and retaining our existing client base, because that existing client base is probably building new relationships with people on social media right now, and you're not there to maintain it with them from your side of it.
Damn. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Matt, Gene, go a little bit deeper on that. So that's some good shit right there.
Gene, go right ahead. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I have alternate views. So let's focus on.
You're allowed. Listen, I think it's important to have alternate views, right? I think. Yeah, I do think, Matt, like with a lot of things you do, and this is not a knock, you're in the minority in a lot of cases. Like the way you operate your business, the way you handle your schedule, the way, like, you're a minority. And that's not me saying, look, there's a shit ton of stuff that you do that I admire. I just know I'm not capable of, like I'm aware of that. I'm self-aware.
Yeah.
One of them to me is, and I'm in the middle. I try to help my clients really, really go deep, like Michelle's talking about, but I don't, like, for myself. So my girls will say, Dad, you have 6,000 followers on your Instagram account, but every time you post, you get like 23 likes. That's embarrassing. I got teenage girls. And I'm like, don't get caught up in the numbers, girls. That's not how it works, But my thing is, like, I realize why that is because if you look at my actual stories, not my stories, my feed, I probably posted a month and a half ago. Like, I don't use the platform the way it's supposed to be. I use it for the clients the way it's supposed to be. But for myself, I don't. I got to get better at that. So I'm kind of like in between what Michelle's talking about and where you are. So I get it, right? But I'm also a believer in, like if you look at what Robert DeLeo is saying, current client closing in a week, and say that 3 times fast, and is 70 plus and found us on Facebook. Is it possible that client would have found them if they weren't on Facebook? Yeah. Did it make it easier for them to get in touch with them? Most likely, right? We had yesterday I was talking to a loan officer that we work with, and he called and said, I got a great story. I shared a listing from another loan officer's real estate agent and got a call from somebody in my circle that said, I need to buy this. And I qualified them for a $500,000 mortgage this morning. And it was just simply because he happened to share a post at the right time when this lady needed something that he had, saw it, called him. I mean,
so Gene, what you said is, could that person have found that guy, right, off of a different platform? Should that person have still used him from a different form of their relationship, right? Whether it was on an email, whether they texted each other, whatever. The answer is yes, right? Of course he could have found him, but he also could have found somebody else when he was aimlessly scrolling that morning on Facebook and Instagram. And even though he had that relationship with that guy, he just lost it because somebody else was top of mind. And that is what we're dealing with right now. That at the end of the day, that is what we're dealing with right now. It's not about trust anymore as much as it used to be. That is important. Of course it is important, but it's more about relevance now. How relevant are you to me, and how available are you to me when I am doing my aimless scrolling on Instagram or Facebook every single day when I'm in line at Starbucks waiting to get a coffee?
So Michelle, to your point, I know with the busy nature of our lives and how, one of the things, you better get that out of my face, Greg McDaniel.
Okay. Bye-bye. Out of your face. Bye, Gene.
The busy nature.
Oh, now you're back.
Listen, the busy nature of what we're looking at, and the fact that we have an attention span less than a goldfish, you just have to not be there for a minute and a half for me to look elsewhere. That's really all it is. And I still remember when I started this, when Facebook really started to become a powerhouse marketing, and people would say, people call me and tell me I post too much on my business page, so I slowed down. And at the time, I'd say, okay, maybe you're annoying people because 100% of your audience is seeing 100% of your posts. Well, as the algorithm and these things started to switch and people moved more towards the paid model, or the platforms moved more to the paid model, there's no way anybody in here combined times 10 could post enough to annoy people unless people are stalking you. You have to be there. You have to be there all the time. And the way the algorithm works, even if you're posting every minute a day, 100% of your audience is going to see 100% of your stuff. So you got to do more, not less.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And Brian is on the screen here with us. I'm here because I was aimlessly scrolling. Brian probably has never, ever heard of me, right? And I don't know what Brian does. Brian, hopefully you're a real estate agent. But if you're not, cool. I built a new relationship with someone who aimlessly was scrolling and was like, oh, those people, those four have something that I like listening to. I'm just going to hang out now. And now all of a sudden I have validity with someone who I've never met because of that.
So Michelle, I'm going to tell you this. I happen to know Brian very well, and I can go ahead and say that Brian would like to schedule a Zoom call with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to my DM message on Instagram, Brian. Berman,
trust me, it's going to happen while we're on the show. Believe me when I tell you that.
Let's talk about content. We talked about frequency a little bit. Let's talk about content. So we talked a little bit about what not to do, and agents get caught up in the trap of posting the wrong types of content. What do you find that's actually really working well on Instagram for agents?
Right now, the number one thing you need to be doing on Instagram is stories. If you do nothing else, if you don't do a reel, if you don't know how to do a reel, you don't give a crap about doing a reel, doesn't matter. Do stories. And why do I say that? Stories are the most entertaining form of education and behind the scenes of who are you? Why would I hire you? What is cool about you that you could possibly do? And it's what everyone is consuming on the platform more than the feed. So you have a higher likelihood and a higher visibility on stories than you ever would on your feed post because of what Gene said, right? The algorithm, I think somebody just put it on the screen too, one of the gentlemen commented 18% see it, Chris, right? Meaning you have an 18% shot at getting one of your existing followers to consume something that's on your feed. But your stories, I would beg to say that number 18 is probably closer to 50 for stories. So while both of them are very important, and I literally talked yesterday on a female panel I was on about the difference between your feed and your stories, right? And if you are listening to this and you want that, links, DM me because I'll send it to you because it was so good. But talking about the difference between your feed and stories, right now we're talking about what's the one thing that if you've not done any of it that you need to be doing, the answer is stories, because you're giving yourself the highest likelihood and the best chance to get in front of people. And the key with stories is they're behind the scenes. They're not super planned. There's no editing involved in that, right? How many people have you guys heard that are like, editing is so hard, I'm not doing it because I don't have time, or I don't want to know how to do it, right? Or you're just scared shitless of doing it, right? So stories are very raw. They're very off the cuff. Most of the time they're behind the scenes where doesn't have anything to do with work. And a lot of the times it's like our voice, or it's what do we enjoy doing on the weekends, or what does our husband look like, or what do our dogs look like, right? And it's people getting to know and building that emotional connection with us that leads them to then ask the business questions. And I think, Matt, you and I were talking about this before the show started when Greg was ignoring us and on the phone. But we were talking about.
Finally, Greg takes a slam. It's about time. Body slammed him too.
I have to give it back to him. He wants the dishes.
Man alive. Like she hip checked him into the glass.
And I just lost my train of thought now.
It's okay. I was just going to ask, why is Matt not posting photos of his husband? I'm very baffled at this.
Exactly. Well, let's talk. Get back to the content though. In terms, so that's the place where you want to post them, right? They're raw, they're authentic, they're mostly behind the scenes stuff. Let's keep going on the content. What type of stories?
Robert is asking story content, information, or relationship based, and that was old. Thank you, Robert, for saying that because that's where I'm trying to go here. So everybody needs a Robert in their life apparently. So
yes.
For me, when you're posting in stories, what's the difference? What's the balance, right? It needs to be a little business. It needs to be a little personal, but in most cases, it should be more on the personal side. Now, how do we interject business? How do we trickle that in there so that we can ultimately generate business off of it? The answer is we can tell stories, right? In your stories, tell stories. You like how I did that? But we have to tell a story of our day or of our client. Or, hey guys, instead of I'm walking into a listing, this is a $450,000 listing, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 400 or 4,000 square feet with a carport and a extra garage, whatever. I don't know. I just made that up. But instead of saying that, right, which is extremely salesy, right? If you really look at it, meaning me, I'm a realtor trying to sell this house. Instead, we could tell the story from a different angle. Instead of what's in it for me, what is this client, or who is this client that I'm about to meet here, and why am I showing them this house, right? So let's use Robert as the example, right? So Robert has Michelle and Dave, my husband, and his name is Dave, so we're going to use us as an example. So Michelle and Dave come meet Robert to go look at a house. Robert jumps on Instagram stories and says, meeting up at this house with Michelle and Dave. Michelle is an entrepreneur that works from home, that wants to have a space in her own, in her house, but not in the actual house. So she can go to work every day without actually having to drive anywhere. Oh, and her husband, Dave, is a strength and conditioning coach that wants to be able to have a gym in his backyard too, so he can privately train clients, etc. So now all of a sudden I have this relationship. If I'm watching this, I have this relationship with Robert of what kind of clients does he enjoy working with? What kind of people is he dealing with? Right? Oh, me too. Oh, hey, Robert, I know you just showed Michelle and Dave that house because they wanted to have a gym in their backyard. I'm legit looking for the same thing, but my budget's kind of tight. Right? And the thing that's beautiful about stories is that the content that is in there, if anyone responds to it, it becomes a private message on Instagram in what we call our DMs, right? It goes down in the DMs is what I like to say. But in your DMs, you have a higher likelihood of having private conversations with people. People are more likely to open up. People are more likely to have these very personal conversations with you about things that they would not comment on a post. They wouldn't say, hey, my husband and I are really struggling with our credit and we know that it's really bad, but we really like what you're doing and we really want to buy a house. Can you help us? Somebody's not commenting that on a piece of content that Robert puts out on his Instagram about a listing.
Yeah. That's one of the interesting things about stories itself, just the way that they've set it up is that the comments and responses aren't public. because it does create the opportunity for that. And it's, I don't know exactly what the theory was, if they necessarily intended it for it to be that way, but just the fact that even if somebody leaves an emoji on your story, the fact that it comes in as a DM to you, it massively lowers the barrier for starting a conversation with somebody, because you're just responding. Like, they give you an emoji, you respond to the emoji, like it's one of those things that lowers the conversational barrier, which I think is one of the things that is good about social media, is it gives us the opportunity to create these very low barrier conversations where we're not having to jump right into, let's jump on the phone, let's meet for coffee, something that feels like it's a lot. So we can have all these really small, tiny little touch points with people, and some of those will turn into the real conversations that actually get clients. And that's to me, that's one of the most interesting things about stories, is the fact that if you take advantage of it, like you said, you move it over into DMs, that's where all the action goes down. And I think that's where a lot of people probably miss the boat on Instagram, is thinking, I'm going to put out content and somebody's going to pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, come on over, I want to talk about putting my home on the market. And that is the disconnect, because over the last 5 years, that's gone down and down and down and down, to the point where now people expect, no, we're going to message a little bit first. We're going to get comfortable. Maybe you send me a voice message, and then maybe we can talk about getting on the phone, and then maybe we can talk about you coming over. And maybe I don't even want to talk to you on the phone. Maybe I want to text you and then have you come over, because I don't like the phone. Like,
the entire conversation, for the most part, probably starts with and has nothing to do with business at all.
Yeah, that's it.
Because like, one of the things that I've learned over the last probably 2+ years of my relationship with clients and my relationship with Instagram as a business platform for myself, is that this is all about like micro touches, right? It's about little nuggets here and there. And it's about building this relationship over time, so that when I have that sales call with somebody, or somebody reaches out to me and decides, hey, I'm ready to start having this conversation about like how you can help me with my Instagram, it's not a sales call at all. The entire conversation starts off with, hey, Michelle, how was your trip? I know you just got back. I saw you were wherever. Or, hey, Michelle, how's the baby doing? I heard you were, having a boy. Like, I had a boy, right? And these are people I've never met ever, or ever talked to outside of that, right? And so you get on the phone, you have these conversations with people that feel so authentic that, like, here's a good example. If I met any of the three of you guys right now in real life, I wouldn't shake your hand. I would hug you, right? Because it's like, I have this relationship with you that's different now because of the fact that we met digitally. We've now talked again. And now we're in this position where I just like you, and I don't know what you guys sell. I don't know what Jean does for a living 100%. Matt, I don't know what you do 100%, but I'm already more invested in wanting to work with you just because I like you than I ever would have been if I just Googled Matt.
Yeah.
Huh. I like how you bring that in as Matt. I just Googled Matt, or as we call him on the show, Adam Levine, but it's okay.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I know we got a hard out, so before we get too far in, because we're almost there, Michelle, how do people reach out to you?
God damn it! I'm gonna mute.
Greg's not ready yet for that.
No, I'm just gonna mute Matt and kick him. Okay, Matt, I love you. Bye. Okay, now it's back to the three of us. Now we can talk. Oh, no, Matt's back.
I'll say that Chipotle is waiting on me. I can go right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I want to talk about something very, very quick. I know we have a hard out. We have out with a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, I unfortunately have a lunch meeting with an important lady, so can't be late.
How long?
I need to leave probably in 5 to 7 minutes at the latest.
Okay, cool. I want everybody to know how they can get a hold of you, but also I want to talk about very, very, very quickly about creating your own brand on Instagram. Give us a 10,000 foot view on this very, very fast, because I don't want you to miss your lunch. I know that we're getting kicked out and we're second-class citizens, and we're just the scum of the earth, and you're going to go hang out with cooler people than us. But
no. You just have to invite me back, guys, and we'll do it again if you want to. If I'm cool enough to justify another round.
You're way too much fun to not have back on the show that way. Okay?
Well, I'll say that. If you put Kyle and I on here at the same time, it'd probably be real bad. So how to build a personal brand. The biggest thing for me that I will tell anyone who wants to use Instagram as a platform to generate business, you have got to be willing to be personal. And obviously there's a private, right? There's a private part of our lives that a lot of us aren't comfortable showing. But what I will tell you is pick your private, right? Pick your level of private, because people really need to see who you are and want to be part of your life in order to hire you, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're building a personal brand, I could talk about this forever, but there is a method to the madness of why do we spend time creating branding, right? Why do we build a logo? Why do we decide on the coloring of the logo? I literally have an entire presentation on how to decide whether orange, yellow, red, purple, blue, green, whatever are the right color for you, right? And what do all those colors mean, right? There's a method to why I picked the turquoise color that's part of the Instagram Power Method logo, because that color represents trust and authority and sincerity, which is what I want people to think about when they look at my logo. I literally want them to feel that, right? So there's a part of that I could talk about forever because I'm passionate as hell about it. But it also leads into this concept of when we're building a personal brand, we have to understand that our face is that brand, not the brokerage we hang our license at, not the company that we do loans with or that we're tied to, whatever the mortgage bank is, right? But who we are hiring is the individual, right? And that individual comes with all of this baggage, right? And hopefully in a good way when it comes to helping somebody buy and sell real estate or get a loan. And I think that a personal brand, that the last thing I'll leave with is it shouldn't be anything about you, right? A personal brand isn't all about you. It's about the clients that you're working with and what have you done for them. That more than anything, the personal side of you will obviously matter. But if you lead with what am I doing to help make my clients' lives better, then that will be more powerful than any listing picture you put out, more powerful than any video you do about the conforming loan limits rising. Like, I don't give a shit about the conforming loan limits rising, because what does that mean, right? If you take it from a perspective of a client and you tell the story of a client talking about why that client was able to buy this house because of the conforming loan limit, all of a sudden I'm way more invested. But if you lead with the conforming loan limit went from 397 to 405, like, I don't give a shit. That doesn't mean anything. There's no connection between me and that number at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is phenomenal stuff. Be human, get out there, tell a story, be real. We're having you back on the show. End of story. Okay, Michelle. End of story. Yeah. And Matt's been, we've been texting back and forth off air, and he agrees. He can't wait to have you back on. Gene says he wants you to run all of his back end, all of his, of his business. So, I mean, this is just a good show. Picking the business right and left.
I really appreciate you guys. And at the end of the day, like, the number one thing I want everyone to know about me is I don't do this for any reason other than because I genuinely just believe that we all have a power inside of us that just needs unlocked, right? We have something in every single one of us that makes us really special. And I talked to a lady yesterday who her comment to me was, well, I haven't been posting videos very much. I haven't been really that consistent. So how do I start? I said, just fucking do it. Just post something, right? And then we're having a conversation about, like, well, what do you do? What do you really enjoy? Like, where's your passion at? She goes, well, I don't ever talk about it, but I lead the choir at my church. My daughter and my son are both in music. And most of my clients are in some form of singing circle that I've been in. And she's sang forever. And I was like, okay, so when you're driving in your car on your way to your next listing appointment, turn the jams on and sing, and then make it fun. And all of a sudden you're going to have a whole bunch of people that are like, damn girl, I didn't know you had a voice like that. Right. So, and you're having conversations about stuff that you love. Right. And so for me, it's all about trying to lead the horse to water and actually making it drink because it wants to drink what it's putting out. Right. And that sounds terrible. It's like a bad analogy, but like if you're invested in what you're creating, you're more likely to keep creating it, right? If I told that same lady she has to post workout or she has to do like all of her videos like in a workout or in a gym in some form of workout that she's doing, she'd be like, what? No.
Yeah.
He may do it once. He's not going to do it again.
we have to stay true to your love. That's very, I love to talk about podcasting. I love to talk about doing video. I love to talk about going for runs and, all this other stuff. And so I'm passionate about it. And people pick up on that. So, basically, Michelle, and we're going to let you out here because I know you have a hard stop here very, very soon.
Yeah.
What would be your one takeaway from your first interview here on Real Estate Uncensored?
My big takeaway is that everyone's going to have a different opinion on things, right? And none of us are wrong. But what all of us have in common, the common thread between every single one of us, is that action over inaction will win every time. Whether it's in the form of how Matt may do business differently, right? Matt may do business in a more grassroots fashion, right? Why? Because it works for him, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I do if I went grassroots and I had to cold call, I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying Matt cold calls, but I'm just saying for me and my business, if that's how I had to earn business, I wouldn't do it. So I think that the beautiful thing about this conversation for me, and I'm going to walk away and take this and do a Facebook Live later for my audience, of everyone can agree to disagree on some things, but what we can all agree on is that doing something is always going to win over not doing anything. And that fear of failure, or fear of one person watching my video instead of, I thought I was going to get 100, but only one watch and it was my mom, right? Like, who cares? Do it anyway, because that's going to compound into other things later on.
Yeah, be perfectly imperfect. Just take action. 100%. I love it. Michelle, you are a legend. Gene, Matt, where can people get a hold of you guys? Well, actually, Michelle, where can people get a hold of you first off?
Yeah. So Instagram, Berman Media Social, I think it's attached to my name up there. Hopefully. And if you guys want to talk about anything, I don't even care what it is about. Send me a DM, we'll talk. And then on Facebook, my Facebook name is Michelle Michael, Mikel. It's my married name. So if you type in Michelle Berman, it won't come up. But my website is bermanmediapd.com, P as in Paul, D as in dog.com. And like I said, at the end of the day, for me, it's about moving your guys' needle in your business in whatever fashion that looks like for you, and whatever small moment or small thing you need to do to get going. That's what I want to help with.
That is awesome. Gene, where can people get a hold of you?
Let's work on the Instagram stuff since we talked about it. Get me at the Gene Volpe on Instagram. Also, join us here next week for a Real Estate Uncensored special edition on why Matt's wrong. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about next week. And I'm looking forward to it. I got a whole list. I got big problems with you, Matt Johnson.
Exactly. I don't know. You're not ready for my feats of strength, Gene. Come on now.
I can't wait to see them.
All right.
Matt, where can people get a hold of you?
Go to getmicrofamous.com and get a digital copy of the book there. Get the system for marketing for introverts. So if Instagram is not your thing, you're looking for an alternate ecosystem of how to market and grow your business, you can check that out. You can also get the Microfamous podcast. So you can check that out. It's all at getmicrofamous.com.
Nice, Matt. Nice. Oh, wait, what was that? Where can I get a hold of me? Well, I'm glad you guys asked, because you guys can go ahead and just text me at 925-915-1978. And we can do some coaching training, a little have a conversation. We are looking for aggressive human beings to join our EXP team. This is not a pitch. We're just saying that we are out there doing some incredible things. So we are hiring in all the states in Canada, and I think they opened up Mexico, Australia, a couple other countries. So guys, hopefully you guys enjoy the content. But Matt and Gene, I'm not going to let you pick a color today.
We already have a color.
I know, it's turquoise.
That's right.
Because Michelle told us what her favorite color was.
So wrap the bow, turquoise bow, wrap it around the episode, gift wrap it. Lovely.
Here we go, guys. Thank you for watching the show. We truly appreciate you. Michelle, you are a legend amongst men and women. You drop knowledge bombs, guys. Please go out to any place you listen to podcasts. Please make sure you give us a 5-star, not a 2-star review on this thing. It helps the algorithm serve it up to other folks. Also mention Michelle if you liked her, if you like Gene, if you like Matt, if you like me. We're here to serve and help you guys. But we love you to pieces. We can't do it without you. But until next time, peace out, ninjas.
Bye, guys. You guys are awesome.
We gone.